Announcing a keynote conversation with the creative team of This Is Us, moderated by Variety's Deborah Birnbaum.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to go down the line and introduce everybody. We've got Isaac Apteker, co-showrunner, Elizabeth Berger, co-showrunner, Glenn Ficarra, director and executive producer, Justin Hartley plays Kevin, Chrissy Metz, hey Chrissy, plays Kate, and John Ruckwad, director and executive producer.
Good morning.
So congratulations. I mean, I'm sure you guys get sick of hearing this, but what does it mean for you to have a show break out and be a hit like this?
I don't think we get sick of hearing it.
I never get sick of hearing it, no.
It's so nice. It's wonderful. I mean, it's a show I think everybody relates to, and that it's really touching people's lives in so many different ways, whether it's paternity, weight, image issues, codependent relationships.
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He wouldn't. It's fine. That was Kevin talking, not Justin. So I'm grateful. That's what I wanted to say.
Why do you think audiences have responded so much to this?
I think that right now on broadcast television, there is nothing that's in this space. And given the state of the world right now, everyone is looking for something that just reaffirms that deep down we're all human and we're all trying our best. And even though we're flawed, we are inherently good. And that is what we're trying to deliver every week.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that, the way in which we tell the story, it's sort of being a multi-generational show, and the way the writers sort of write these characters, they're so specific and so sort of just fleshed out, every single character. I think I've heard people say to me, and I agree, that, and I'll tell you really quickly, my father actually said this, and my father barely talks about this kind of stuff ever, and he goes, I feel like when I'm watching the show, I feel like they're talking to me. And I thought, well, that's the show then, isn't it? I mean, that's when we're doing our job well.
Yeah, I think in a landscape of procedurals and forensic shows, just real stories kind of hit people, and they're kind of fresh again because they just haven't been on for a while.
Was there a moment in the first season when the show was launching when you realized that the show was a hit, when you realized that, people are really paying attention to this?
I think, the trailer had such an amazing reaction, and we were sort of like, okay, I think people are gonna like this. And then, we all saw the pilot, and we were like, this is very special. People are really gonna like this. And then it aired, and the reaction was beyond our wildest dreams. But I think as soon as we sort of started crafting the stories, and they were coming from this deeply personal space, we had a feeling, like you could feel that something very, very special was happening, especially as you saw the performances come to life. So you never know, you could never have anticipated what it became, but from very early on, we thought we had something special.
I knew when we were filming the pilot, and specifically that scene that we had in the bathroom, where we're both on the floor, where you had fallen, and we're both like sort of rock bottom, and sometimes when you're acting and you hear them say moving on, or you're like, thank God, or you hear them say going again, and you're like, going again, gosh, it feels like we got it. And I remember in that scene hearing, okay, moving in for tighter coverage, moving on. And I remember being a little disappointed. I could have just sat there and done that scene for days. And that, I think, sort of...
That's because you weren't sitting in the bathtub like me.
That's true.
There was somebody in the shower. There was somebody in...
No, you hated it.
It was a hard fit.
But I remember thinking, looking back on that and thinking, wow, that's really a special moment. And it's continued through sort of every scene and every episode for me, anyway.
Yeah. I think even at the table reads, when we know what's happening and we're still very emotional and we're crying, and Mandy and I are like sobbing, and then I cry with strangers in bathrooms. I'm like, oh, this is really impacting so many people for so many different reasons. And I didn't think we knew initially, and then, to be received so beautifully was like, oh, this is all I've ever wanted to do. So, yeah.
How are you going to keep that momentum going into season 2? Do you feel the pressure?
Yes. We 100% feel the pressure. We are also so excited that we get to keep on telling these stories with these characters, and to be able to do 36 more episodes and know sort of when they're airing, and really be able to plan out where our big reveals are going to be and where our big emotional moments are going to land is such a gift, and it's just been a thrill. We started 3 weeks ago, and it's been great.
Yeah, both pressure and extremely exciting, though. And we just, you have to tell, it's so great that everyone has an opinion. It means that they're so fully engaged, and that's what you hope for. But you also have to be like, okay, let's just keep our heads down and keep doing what we've been doing. We'll tell each other our personal stories. We'll cry in this room together, and hopefully America will like it. So we're very excited for what's coming.
John and Glenn, are you guys in the writer's room too? How involved are you in the storytelling?
We're more so in the first season. We're going to go. I think we said we're going in next week to get the lay of the land and just
We just lob ideas in.
yeah.
We text
Throw
Dan,
bombs.
We go, here's a, and Dan's like, well, that just screws up everything we've been working on all week. So take your idea. No, yeah, we were more involved. I mean, so much of the first season was just us hanging out on set in the pilot, like going, it'd be great. That kind of, that remember, like, was
Yeah.
just like,
Oh,
we're
and
kinda
it
like,
was great stuff that just happened
We
sort of
came
in
up with the whole season sitting on set. The fun thing about all this, I mean, is to see all that ahead of you and know how it's going to go, because we're going to direct probably 3 or 4 episodes this season, just because we can't say no because we like it so much. And,
Would you say no?
and it's just really exciting to see this, and we've gotten the sneak preview of little bits, and I'm really excited about it.
Care to share?
Yeah, care to share? We don't even know. We don't even know what's
take
going
place
on.
in the past.
Somebody say
and the
alien
present.
invasion.
I'm sort of so I do this thing where people ask me if they're like, "Can I get some spoilers?" And I've been doing this thing sort of from the beginning where I'll say, "Listen, you think you want them, but you don't know this. But trust me, I'm going to help you. You don't want to know." And I sort of have realized that I'm the same way. Dan's like, "Listen, I want to tell you," and I'm like, "What?" I'd rather just read it, man. So I'm kind of the same way. I want to experience it like on the page.
My wife, who wants me to tell her what's going to happen in everything we watch on television, I come home, I'm watching dailies on the computer. She gives me the headphones. She doesn't want to know. She just loves the surprise. I don't know why people like to cry so much, but they do.
It's cathartic, Glenn. We all have things. We're going through stuff. There's pain. We can cry together.
We'll explain pain to you later. Yeah. You're just always happy.
Always. Yeah, you know me.
Do you let the actors into the writer's room? Is that something that you're interested in
Yeah,
doing?
we're bringing everyone in starting I think next week, so you guys will hear everything. It's funny because we're like, now that the show has so much attention and there are these big secrets to the scripts and the outlines, we're all just a bunch of dramedy writers. It's not how we think, but we really are having to implement all these procedures to keep things on lockdown. So we're using code words and we're like shutting the blinds of the writer's room at night so people can't see while they're walking by.
Are we gonna have to come to set blindfolded?
You guys, someone's gonna show up at your house with the script and you're gonna have to read it and then it'll like light it on fire and leave because we're locking it down.
No, it's true. One of our new writers used to work in the music industry, and she explained that before Beyonce's secret album dropped, they were all speaking in code words. But now we're all doing it, but we all don't know how to do it, so we're all just communicating extremely poorly.
We should get Beyonce on season 2. I'm just saying that would be amazing.
That's the takeaway.
That just came to my head. That's what I heard.
Does it frustrate you that there's so much attention focused on how and when Jack died? Can you get beyond that as part of a storytelling device?
It's not frustrating. It means people are engaging with the show, and we encourage. We definitely build that up. It's as a big mystery. I do think there's a lot more to the show than that. And once he does die, whenever that is, there's going to be a long life that this show has beyond that. But no, I think all it means is that people really care about the world we've created.
I agree, and I think we're going to really try our best to not frustrate them this season. I feel that they're going to feel very satisfied by the way we parse that information and tell the story. So they're all going to be happy.
We hope.
I don't think, my thing is, things like that, deaths are not the end of stories. They're the beginning of stories. They're the beginning of the people who survived and how that affected them and the specific events that led up to the death and the aftermath, how that affected and grew human beings. So, I don't see it as the end of anything. I see it as actually things become much more elevated after the cat's out of the bag.
So there will be more stories beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
That's when things get really interesting.
Talk about the 2-season renewal. What freedom did that allow you in terms of the stories and the stories that you would be able to tell?
It is so great because when we were writing last year, we were writing before we aired, and we didn't know if it would be a hit, and we didn't know if we were doing 12 episodes or 22 episodes, and so trying to pace out these very serialized stories that are really, every episode leads into the next one was nearly impossible. And now we know not only that we're airing 36, but that we have, this run of 10 in the fall that's going to be so amazing for momentum, and then we're coming back and we have a Super Bowl episode, and we know when that is. We can really plot out how we want these stories to unfold as if it was like, a novel, and we were crafting the whole thing sort of without thinking about the realities of scheduling, because we know how it's going to go.
Yeah, it's a very rare, incredible opportunity to hear stories that are great and to say, no, that will be the middle of season 3. I mean, most shows do not get to do that, and to be able to plan it that methodically, it's very, very exciting.
Well, I bought a couch finally, so I'm excited. You think I'm kidding? Ask Justin.
No, this was a big deal for her. I was like, Chris, buy
It's
a
like,
couch.
well, if I have a job, I should buy a couch. So I
really-
did.
this is a
Thanks,
real thing.
guys. Thanks, everyone.
You talked about the run of 10 episodes. Was that a reaction to the time slot switch? It was originally going to be on Thursdays. Now it moved back to Tuesdays.
Yeah, it was originally going to be on Thursdays, and then Bob and Jen at NBC, who've been so amazing, heard the plan for season 2 and realized that because of football and a bunch of things that I don't understand, we wouldn't have been able to build up that momentum and do 10 in a row on Thursdays. So they moved us back to our original home, and we're going to really be able to do 10 episodes with no breaks, I believe, and it's going to have such momentum building towards our mid-season finale that I think it's the best version of season 2.
So Chrissy, excuse me.
It's okay.
I do that all the time. Your character was seen, you got a little bit of a hint that you were going to be singing. Is that something that you want to see for your character in the future?
Yeah, I mean, singing
Good.
like Kate. Like Kate, I never really aspired to. Well, I never really was encouraged to sing, but I always wanted to. So it's like my dreams are really coming true, and to potentially sing with, my mom, Mandy Moore, would be incredible. Hint, hint, push, push.
This is your chance to pitch it.
Yeah, yeah. You
Got
heard-
you.
Okay. Okay, great. I don't want to be bossy. I'm not good at that. I'm working on it. Communicating effectively, I should say. Yeah, that would be incredible. And I think that music is such a beautiful art form, and it's so healing. And I don't know, that would be super fun.
And Justin, what do you want?
I don't sing. I do in the shower. I sing. You don't want me to sing.
But what do you want to see for Kevin in the future?
I love Kevin, and I feel like, gosh, he's this guy who sort of gets it wrong a lot, but he's got such a great heart, and his intentions are good, and he's a lover, and he's a good guy, and so I want him to get what he wants, and I guess sort of when you look at it, you say, well, I think he's winning his ex-wife back. That seems to be going well, and he's got this great opportunity with to do this movie, and why can't he do both? That sounds reasonable. But then when you look at the story and you go, well, that's a lot to ask of a woman to sort of walk down that road with me again. And the last time I burned you, walk down this exact same road with me again. Trust me this time. That's a lot to ask. But I want him to get what he wants, whatever that means. And I always say that the writers on our show are like sort of, I liken it to like when you're playing a baseball game on a team with a pitcher that's throwing a no-hitter in the 7th inning, and you just sort of pretend like he's not there. You don't really like look at him or make eye contact with them. You just sort of, they're in rare air, and you sort of let them do their thing. So I try not to get too involved with like what I want. This is a specific thing that I want for Kevin, because they are doing such a great job that I literally need to just stay out of the way and trust them, and I can't wait to read the next script. It's a dream job. It truly is. I don't even know if that answered your question, but really happy this morning.
One of the things I think is such an interesting trend on television is like when a show is a success, like This Is Us, you often see copycat shows. It was interesting to see that you didn't really see that in development this season. Why do you think that is?
I think that This Is Us came from such a deeply personal place for Dan. A lot of it is based on his family, his relationship with his own sister who struggled with weight, that it's not like, oh, lawyers are big, let's crank out some lawyer shows. It's like, this is really a show about Dan's family and then ultimately sort of all the families of all the writers who wound up contributing to the show. So it's not so easy to replicate. I think it really has to be special and from a person, which doesn't come along all that often.
Although I do feel that it's had a sort of global effect, that people are looking for more sort of emotion and connection on everything, like Sharknado 5. Let's have that big scene, with the tear-jerking scene. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, it's just like I hear people. I go talk to executives a lot. I'm a very lucky man, and And they're always like, oh, we're doing this procedure, but we have it's going to have an emotional connection. Like everybody's kind of looking for that aspect of what we do. But that's all we do.
Looking back at the first season, is there a moment that you're proudest of?
Is there a what?
A moment you're proudest of.
Oh.
Well, for me, as a director, the fact that the twist in the pilot worked was incredibly gratifying. But I think the Memphis episode, for me, it was a really special experience. It was really emotionally taxing to do that because we love Ron and we didn't want to see him go. And we got to go to Memphis and just do a lot of improv with those guys, which was an exceptional amount of fun. It was just really rewarding artistically. It was one of those charmed things you get to do as a director when something turns out the way you picture it. It's more rare than you might think, and it turned out perfectly, I thought, for what it is.
Mine is like it's like asking me my favorite flavor of ice cream. It just changes from day to day, and every time I think I have a scene or a moment that maybe I'm not even in or I am in or whatever, that I think is like my favorite moment, I will remember another moment and be like, no, that's my favorite moment. It's such a great thing. If you just look at I guess for me it would be the arc of the character. I think where he started and where he ended up. I think I'm pretty proud. I think we told that story, in a great way. I don't know if I have a moment though. Isn't that amazing?
It's hard to choose. Absolutely. Sometimes it's like, oh, I showed up to work. I think I can do this.
You singing
I'm
should
scared.
be yours though. That was incredible.
Are you kidding?
That's incredible.
Oh, really? Because John and Glenn were like, oh, just go ahead and sing it. And then they recorded it without even letting me know.
Yeah, that's great. That's
So
brilliant.
then I had to listen to the non-produced, non-affected version of the song
You didn't need
for
auto-tune.
2
You did a good
hours.
job.
I'm like, this
That's
is torture.
That's her singing.
Oh,
Time
gosh.
after time in episode. That's her singing. No effects. Episode 3.
No
No
auto-tune.
effects. That is like we had what's called an earwig. So we put it in her ear, and it's like a little hearing aid. And the music's playing on there, and she's singing in a room with no accompaniment, take after take, the wide shots, the close-ups, the whole thing, and we just cut it together. So that's really her singing. Normally in movies and TV, you go into the studio and you do a polished production of a song, and then you come back in and the actors sort of lip sync to it. In this case, it was all you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was
And
also a room
it was
full
great.
of background artists who were not supposed to be interested in anything that I was doing. I'm like, nobody.
Well, they're all
likes
like crying.
anything, or they're half asleep.
Stop
or-
crying. Stop being emotionally engaged. That was our.
Yeah. It was.
We're great.
It was definitely an adventurous day for me.
You blew our mind. It was amazing.
Well, you're very kind. You're welcome. Anyway, thank you.
It changes for me too, but that moment of Justin running to his brother, of Kevin running to Randall during his breakdown, it's a credit to Justin's performance that you sort of see an entire season of a character's growth in such a profound way. And I was on set that day, and I was so incredibly moved and very proud, I think, of what we sort of crafted all season long and what they brought to life. So that was a big highlight.
I love Chrissy's monologue to Toby when she's breaking up with him midway through the season because she needs to focus on herself and her health. We were at the Paramount commissary, I think, and we did it in one take with like they're really we barely even needed a reaction shot. We just held on her because her face was so captivating and the emotions were so real. And I remember sitting there at the monitors just watching the take that just ended up on TV because we didn't do anything to it, and being like, wow, people are gonna go crazy for this character.
I'm embarrassed. Thank you. It was emotional. That scene was really tricky, especially because I love Chris and obviously Kate loves Toby. But to tell a gentleman, like, I've got to focus on myself, because we don't do that. We always put everybody else first. And so I thought it was really important, but there was a lot going on. And I remember there was a leaf blower, and then someone's cell phone went off, and then a background artist walked in the wrong. And Chris is like, do you want me to do something? I'm like, no. Let's not leave this moment. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you don't see that are challenging, and I'm like, the fact that I even memorized the words was like victory for me. So, thank you.
Isaac and Elizabeth, you guys have been elevated to co-showrunners for season 2. What does that mean for you, and how are you putting your imprint on the show?
Honestly, we've known Dan for almost a decade, and we've worked with him on a number of shows. So it just felt like a really organic sort of step forward in our collaboration with him. I mean, it means that we're like people, like writers come to me and are like, I have a dentist appointment tomorrow morning, I'm going to be late. And I'm like, why are you telling me that? Oh, right. So like, there's stuff like that. But in terms of the workflow, I feel like it feels really natural.
We're very lucky. I mean, our writers are so incredible, and most of them we worked with in the first season, and everyone, it's an incredibly supportive group, so it was a very seamless transition. And yeah, it's just so exciting to be doing this with Dan, who we've known for almost a decade and has been such a true friend and mentor to us, both in his talent and the way he treats other human beings. So it's just very rare to be with someone so good and so talented and have this experience.
And John and Glenn, I mean, I know you guys have done a lot of film work. How does that compare to directing for TV?
I really like doing TV because it's actually there's more boundaries, there's more limits because you don't have infinite time and infinite money, and it forces you to make those creative decisions and really trust your gut and trust your actors and even your crew and the writing. Just it's kind of going without a net, and it's exhilarating and really rewarding when it all just kind of cuts together and you're just amazed, and it's been really gratifying that way.
Gives us a lot of confidence as directors, I feel, doing this, because you don't have, in features you have a lot of time, and you do a lot of like, well, let's do this and let's do that, and we'll do a version like this, and you sort of like get into the editing room, you have 400 versions. On TV, you have one version or maybe two, and you have to trust that you and the actors and the writers all made the right choice. And you get in there, and what we've learned is that most of the time we did, which is very gratifying, that we've actually learned something over the course of our career, because it doesn't always happen that way. And so yeah, it's been really exciting. And this cast, I mean, there's a lot of hyperbole, but I mean, this cast is like, we've been waiting our whole career for this cast. I mean, they're that good. It's Murderer's Row. I mean, every one of them is amazing. And it's always starts good, and then can we make it great? I mean, sometimes it starts great, and you're like, well, we're going home early. I mean, it's extraordinary, and we've done a lot. We worked with a lot of great actors, and we've had nothing even close to this. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you.
Don't tell the other actors.
They'll never hear about it. Well, the show is known for making America cry. I'd like to know from each of you what makes you guys cry.
On the show or in general?
On the show.
On the show, I mean, I also lost it when Kevin came to his brother's rescue, and in talking to guys and like my male friends, those brother moments and like give you a really good cathartic man cry, which are perhaps more rare than some of our other cries. But that just when he goes down and says Randall and hugs him like that, I was done.
Yeah, everyone has killed me on this show. That breakup scene between Kate and Toby, I think something about if you are a human being that's ever been through a breakup and you know that pain of loving the person and no one's done anything quite wrong, but you can't work right now. I thought it was so perfectly executed by Chrissy, and it destroyed me. And pretty much every scene between Randall and William, I cried straight through as well. I don't know, everything.
I don't usually cry watching it because I've been sitting in the editing room and I've watched it a million times. But on set, William's death was an intense experience, and it was hard for everybody. The crew and everybody was it was a very charged environment, and we shot it on the first day of that episode. Thank goodness, because we kind of got it over with, and we were happy to be together for the rest of it.
Gosh, if I am a baby. I do cry a lot on the show, and it's interesting because I've read it and I'm in it and I've seen it, and then I see it again, and like if I watched it right now, I would probably tear up. I let myself kind of go there, and I feel like that's why you I don't know. That's why you watch things, right? You want to be moved and stuff. But gosh, maybe the 3 sentences that I had to say to my ex-wife. I just feel like Kevin going to his ex-wife and saying, "I have these 3 sentences, these 3 things that I want to say to you." And for me, living through that character and just like realizing why he's behaving the way he's been behaving these past several years, he's trying to fill this void that is with things that are never going to fill it. But we do that as human beings, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. How brave is that for him to like step up there and do that with the run-on sentence and stuff. That one got me, I think.
There's so many beautiful moments from when, Jack is sitting outside of the bedroom and he gives the necklace to Rebecca. And the way he kisses her hand, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I know that sounds so like trivial or small, but just the way it was so much, there was so much love. And then the painting episode, your beautiful monologue, and the fact that dance company was so moved.
I know.
I don't know if you've seen this video, but there was a dance company that did this beautiful choreographed contemporary dance to.
Yeah, they lost a friend of these young girls, and they put a dance together with that speech in the background.
And at the end of the dance, they bring out the painting that, obviously a replica of the painting from the episode, but it was so moving because I think it sums up exactly what our show and what life is about and what we're all searching for. Of course, the Memphis episode. Mm-hmm. I audibly cried. I had to watch it on my own. I was like, like, when you get spanked when you're a kid and you can't really breathe? It was that. I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad I watched it by myself. It was just so moving. There's so many beautiful moments, but those kind of come to mind.
When we read the Memphis episode for the first time, we're like, oh, the ducks, Dan, the ducks? Yeah. These ducks are too much.
Yeah.
And he goes, we're like, is there anything we can do? It's too corny. And he's like, well, I maybe you're right. And he's really open to our criticism. And but we said, we're going to shoot it. We'll shoot it. And because, what the fuck, excuse my language, we're going to shoot it. So we shot it. We did the ducks. I'm out there wrangling ducks. It's just the most ridiculous job in the world. I'm like, get them, to run in front of the car. And we're out there with and they were Tennessee ducks. They weren't even out California ducks. And they were trying to get them before. We finally get our take. We're like, fine, Dan's got his frickin' ducks. So we go back and we're like, it's never going to work. And we watched the first assembly of the show, and the ducks run in front of the car, and I'm just bawling. The ducks! The ducks!
It's true, I was there. I saw it.
Well, I can't think of a better note to end on than the ducks. Looking forward to seeing ducks and more in season 2. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the show.